El Mariel dejó el paisaje, las estrellas y la luna. El Mariel dejó el paisaje, las estrellas y la luna, un llanto fijo en su cuna, el palmar y su follaje. La pesadilla de un viaje, quizás de nunca volver. La Habana, el amanecer, las huellas de un viejo morro y las angustias que a chorro lo hicieron palidecer.
It was April 1980 when the boats began coming from Cuba. Day and night, good weather and bad, across the Straits of Florida to Key West. These were the people who'd attracted world attention, and they'd crowded into the Peruvian embassy in Havana, seeking to leave the island. Suddenly, unexpectedly, Fidel Castro opened the port of Mariel and the gateway to the United States.
For Fidel Castro, it was tantamount to an act of genocide.
Quien no tenga genes revolucionarios, quien no tenga sangre revolucionaria, quien no tenga una mente que se adapte a la idea de una revolución, quien no tenga un corazón que se adapte al esfuerzo y al heroísmo de una revolución, no los queremos, no los necesitamos.
As far as in Mariel, and the reason that I even thought about naming the album this was, it has a lot to do with my culture, a lot to do with my history, personal history, and a lot to do with, you know, of course, with Cuban history.
Were they what they appeared, a cross-section of Cuban society? Or were they what Castro was claiming were the escoria, or scum of revolutionary Cuba?
My father brought over 3 boats in Mariel. You got Tiffany, the inspector, and the Shadow. And he brought over 547 people. You know, something that I always heard about during my life. But now that I'm older and I'm starting to tap into my culture, I'm seeing how much Mariel really meant, you know, to the city of Miami, to the city that I'm from, the city, you know, born and raised, County of Dade.
People remember it in the context of the social upheaval that happened here in Miami and so forth. But the Mariel boat lift is a phenomenon. It's something that happened. It's something that continues to affect history.
Without los Marielitos and what happened in that era, then you don't have no Miami at the end of the day, you know? As much negativity that went on through that era is basically what built this city.
The majority of the people that came were people who were like integrating into their families and into life here. But there was also, you know, a group of people who had basically never been free. I mean, never been free even in Cuba. They were, you know, they were jailed.
9-page article inside focused primarily on Miami as the troubled center of drugs, crime, and refugees.
1981 will go down as another record year for killings around greater Miami.
I think we're probably going to see in excess of 600 homicides by the end of the year.
As South Florida's drug trade prospers, Dade's homicide rate will continue to climb.
When the Mariel happened, I was living in an apartment, okay, right behind Tent City. And you could actually tell, you can actually tell that these were not, you know, your Harvard graduate types, you know what I mean?
Shots are fired, people are killed, and much of the time the killers are people who came over from Cuba in the boat lift of 1980.
There have been so many murders throughout greater Miami lately that a special refrigerated truck is now being used by the Dade Medical Examiner's Office to store all the bodies.
But if you have individuals who come in from, you know, who've been criminals all their lives in Cuba, and you come here and you don't know anything else, well, you're going to commit crimes. So, you know, this whole amount of individuals, these criminals that came over, you know what I mean? Sure, it shot up everything, and it was Fidel Castro's idea to do that, to ruin the name of the Cubans here, you know what I mean? So, but everything took its course. You know, all the criminals got arrested and they served their time, and now what?
People have a typical stereotype of Mariel when they see the movie Scarface. The reason that I'm always, you know, that I refer to that movie is so they can get a quick idea of what I'm talking about.
They were petty criminals, you know, and basically. And for them, this was wide open. And, you know, I mean, they couldn't really get jobs, you know, so they went out, you know, to find their own. And they weren't afraid of the law enforcement at all. There was no fear.
But genuine differences between Little Havana and the new generation from Mariel were being obscured by a wave of violent crime. Robberies, homicides, and drug busts increased by 80% in Little Havana and by 60% throughout the Miami area.
One of the things that was important about the movie Scarface is, in its way, in its wicked way, it brought hope. It brought hope. You can come from nowhere and you can make it.
It's sort of like the same idea that I had growing up of what Mariel was, but as you know, now that I get older and they tell me more stories and I find out more facts about it, you really see how it affected Miami and how not only that, it affected the country, really. Like.
Respect that up, dog. That little Chico Pitbull reporting live, 4305. Yeah, this that date,
Castro did his thing, you know what I mean? Right now, it went back against him. You know, for the simple reason that, you know, the Marielitos now are an economic force here in the community, and you really don't know who's a Marielito anymore. It's no longer a matter of importance here in Miami. The overall view is the majority will not return to Cuba after the fall of Fidel Castro, but they will be willing to invest in the island. So those that became here at the Escoria, this is like the final, I guess, a response to Fidel Castro. Those very same people now are going to be investing in the reconstruction of Cuba.
Everybody wants freedom, everybody wants opportunity, everybody wants a chance to live the American dream. And that's what everybody was chasing at that time. And that's what I'm chasing. You know, I'm out here trying to make a living for my family and make sure that they're straight for the rest of their lives. From my heart to your ears, you know, that's how I'm trying to do it, basically. Except back then, they was pushing different type of products. I'm pushing music, but I'm doing the same thing. I'm going city to city, state to state, country to country, trying to get y'all hooked on my product.
¿Qué más carne ni más carne? Así viene el sándwich.